because it is a big stretch, especially in Southeastern Conference basketball coming up. We've kind of been waiting for this top three to sort of play out in the league. When you talk about Tennessee and Kentucky and LSU, well, we're about to get that, okay? We're about to get that coming up here in the next little bit. Starting really midweek, starting tomorrow night, you got LSU at Kentucky tomorrow night. Another one of those legitimate Super Tuesday games. As you recall, we went through a stretch in SEC basketball where ESPN would run promos for Super Tuesday, and you would kind of snort under your breath because it would be a game that was a matchup that was anything but super at the time, unless it involved Florida and Kentucky. Therefore, it's a long stretch. There wasn't really much super about SEC basketball. That's changed, as we know, in the last couple of years. But you're going to have LSU at Kentucky tomorrow night, and then on Saturday night we get Tennessee at Kentucky. So we've been waiting for these sort of top three to play things out, and now we're going to get it. Tennessee and Kentucky going to play a couple times. I want to say twice on 3 Saturdays. Over a span of 3 Saturdays, you're going to get Tennessee and Kentucky. You're going to get Auburn and Tennessee in the regular season finale. So the matchups are just going to get better and better as we move towards the end of the SEC regular season. 205-342-9904. That is the Peterbrook Chocolatier studio line on a Monday edition of Southern Fried Sports, presented by Carty and Lloyd, attorneys at law, and our good friends at Mercedes-Benz of Tuscaloosa. It seems like this Josh Fields situation at the University of Georgia, everybody has an opinion on it, right? And certainly by now, if you're a college football fan, you have heard former Georgia quarterback Josh Fields, who is transferred to The Ohio State University, has been granted immediate eligibility in Columbus, Ohio. He was awarded a waiver that will allow him to play for new head coach Justin Fields, excuse me. I called him Josh. There we go.
Justin. My bad. I didn't mean to distract you.
No. I need it. I need it as I get into my 50s here. Justin Fields of Georgia, formerly now at Ohio State, has been granted a waiver to play immediately eligible at Ohio State. And it's caused quite a stir because it appears as if we're just moving closer and closer to unrestricted free agency in college football with the way waivers are being granted now. And what's interesting from all the fallout is Tate Martell, formerly of Ohio State, now at the University of Miami, has asked for his own waiver to be immediately eligible at Miami. So that's something interesting to keep an eye on. But as far as Justin Fields goes, a lot of blowback in that, we all know why Justin Fields left the University of Georgia. He left the University of Georgia because Jake Fromm is the guy. Jake Fromm was the guy after the 2017 season, and there was nothing to tell you that he wasn't going to be the guy in 2018, and that's exactly how it played out, despite the fact that Kirby Smart did his best to try to manufacture any type of opportunities he could for Justin Fields as a true freshman. It was cumbersome, put it that way. It didn't work. It didn't fit. Kirby, I don't know, maybe Kirby during the recruitment of Justin Fields had made some hard and fast promises in relation to playing time, appearing in games on a weekly basis at a minimum. It just had the feel that that's kind of how it went down with Justin Fields during his recruitment. And it just never, it wasn't natural at all in how Georgia tried to utilize Justin Fields. It certainly wasn't in the SEC championship game, was it? I mean, that was as forced as it gets in terms of trying to make it work with a 2-quarterback system and trying to keep a true freshman around beyond that season. That's what that was. And it benefited Alabama greatly, not only in terms of the botched fake punt late in that game that Fields was a part of, but just throwaway downs. In a game like that, between two evenly matched teams, to just throw away downs because you gotta play this guy, or you feel like you gotta play him. It's critical in games like that. Anyway, Justin Fields, as we know now at Ohio State, and that's why he's at Ohio State, because he wasn't going to be the guy. Jake Fromm's going to be the guy at least one more year. And with Jake Fromm's similar to Tim Tebow in that Jake Fromm isn't a guy who has to go to the National Football League after his true junior season. I know there's some people out there that are, well, Jake Fromm's not going to be a 3-and-out type talent. Anyway, you might be surprised after this next season how Jake Fromm is perceived. Now, Georgia losing a lot of receiving production. We know that the Dogs did surprise on signing day and picked up and flipped George Pickens from Auburn. So we'll see how that works out, assuming Pickens qualifies academically. So there is that concern. That's a bigger concern for Jake Fromm in 2019 in Georgia than Fromm. Fromm's a legit NFL prospect. The problem for Fields is that even beyond this year, there's no guarantee that Fromm wouldn't come back for a fourth year. Jake Fromm can get a first-round grade from the NFL at the end of his junior season. That doesn't guarantee that Jake Fromm can go Peyton Manning. He can do the Eli Manning. He can do Tim Tebow. You know, he comes from a background in which there isn't the urgency to go ahead and make that jump. And so I won't be surprised at all if Jake Fromm turns out to be a 4-year guy. I think Justin Fields thought that. Justin Fields' camp thought that. And with that, Justin Fields did what he felt like he needed to do and transferred to Ohio State. Now, you know, the waiver, it's believed anyway, has to do with the idiotic actions of a former Georgia baseball player, Adam Sasser, who at a game last fall hurled racial slurs in relation to Fields at a Georgia home game there in Athens. This is documented. Sasser was subsequently dismissed. And so this is all documented, that this did in fact happen in relation to Justin Fields. Now, the NCAA waiver, written into the requirement, it states, documented mitigating circumstances that are outside the control of the student athlete. Well, I'd say racial slurs hurled at an individual at a football game with 85, 90,000 fans in attendance witnessing it, by the letter of the qualification for a waiver, it registers, you know. So look, I agree that Justin Fields is leaving Georgia first and foremost because he's the number 2 guy to Jake Fromm. But if you don't like the route that he's taken to immediate eligibility, your problem is with NCAA member schools that come up with and pass into rule their own bylaws. And so, loophole, whatever you want to call it, if it's made available to someone like Justin Fields, or if it was your kid, I would almost guess 100% of the time you would look to pursue it. Look, again, no question, the underlying reason for Justin Fields making the jump has to do with playing time. But if you have a problem, it shouldn't be with Justin Fields taking advantage of a bylaw proposed and written into law, essentially, or into rule by NCAA member schools. That's all. We're going to step aside to a break. When we come back, more of